Imagine this. You've done it. You've made the move to Portugal. Maybe you've just bought that amazing apartment with the sunny balcony, or perhaps you're getting a business off the ground, or maybe just, soaking up the day-to-day life. It feels great. The sun's out. The food's incredible. Perfect. Right. But then, something unexpected happens. Could be a big online purchase arrives damaged, and the seller just won't play ball on a refund. Or maybe there's a really tricky misunderstanding with your landlord, or, you end up in a bit of a situation with a traffic incident. Suddenly, something small can feel huge, really overwhelming, especially when you're dealing with a whole new legal system, maybe in a language you're still learning.
Exactly. It can feel quite daunting.
And that's where today's topic comes in. Legal protection insurance, or, as they call it here in Portugal, seguro de proteção jurídica. So today, we're going to really dive deep into this. It's kind of your shortcut to understanding this safety net. Our mission really is to unpack how this insurance can back you up financially and, just as importantly, give you some genuine peace of mind when legal stuff pops up here.
Precisely. We want to break down what it actually covers, how it's different, and it is quite different from other insurance you might have. We'll look at the different ways you can get it, and maybe most importantly for many listeners, why it's so vital for expats. Making sure you can get legal advice, maybe even in English.
Okay, so let's start right there. What is legal protection insurance, fundamentally? What's the big idea for someone living abroad?
Well, the core idea is financial support for legal battles. But for expats, I think the biggest benefit is often that peace of mind. Knowing you're covered for things like lawyer fees, court costs, and crucially, having access to legal advice, sometimes in your own language, that's huge when you're navigating unfamiliar territory.
Right. The language barrier alone can stop people from pursuing their rights.
Absolutely. Now, one thing that often trips people up is confusing legal protection insurance. Let's call it LPI with liability insurance.
Oh, yes. I can see how that could happen.
It happens all the time, but they do very different jobs. Think of it like this. LPI covers your legal costs when you need to pursue a claim or defend yourself. It pays for your lawyer, your court fees. It helps when you're, say, the victim or need to enforce your rights. Liability insurance, on the other hand, covers damages you cause to other people or their property. So if someone sues you because you were at fault, your liability insurance steps in to pay them. It's often part of your home or car insurance.
Okay, that makes it much clearer. LPI is for your fight. Liability is for when you're the one causing the issue.
Exactly. LPI empowers you legally. Liability protects you financially if you've caused harm.
Got it. So when we talk about LPI, what kind of real-life situations are we actually covering here? You mentioned it's broad.
It really is surprisingly broad. On the personal side, think about consumer disputes. That faulty washing machine the shop won't fix, or maybe a service contract you need to challenge. Then there's employment rights. Maybe you feel you were unfairly dismissed. Property disputes with neighbors, which can get nasty. Landlord-tenant issues are a big one, especially around deposits. Personal injury claims, if you're hurt due to someone else's negligence. Even things like traffic violations and defending yourself after an accident.
Wow, okay. That covers a lot of everyday potential headaches.
And that's just the personal side. If you run a business or you're a professional, LPI can extend to things like contract disputes with suppliers, defending yourself against professional liability claims, issues with the tax authorities, business-related legal problems, even intellectual property stuff.
And family law. Does it touch on that?
It can, yes, though often with more limitations. Some policies offer support for divorce proceedings, maybe custody arrangements, inheritance disputes, or covering the costs of family mediation. You'd need to check the specific policy details for that.
Okay, so it's clear this isn't just some obscure insurance. It touches on many parts of life. So we know what it is and what it generally covers. Let's get into the nuts and bolts. What does that coverage actually look like? What specific costs are paid?
Right, let's look under the hood. The legal expense coverage, the core part, typically includes the lawyer's fees, the honorarios de advogado. It also covers court costs, which are called custas judiciais here, fees for expert witnesses if you need one, and very importantly for expats, often translation services for documents.
Translation, okay, that's crucial.
Definitely. It can also cover bailiff costs and even the costs if you need to appeal a decision.
Are there limits? I assume it's not unlimited cover?
No, there are always limits. Policies usually have a limit per case, maybe somewhere between, say, 5,000 and 50,000 euros. And then there's usually an annual maximum limit, too, perhaps ranging from 20,000 up to 100,000 euros or more for premium plans.
Right.
You might also find some policies have caps on the hourly rate they'll pay for a lawyer. and they'll specify the geographic coverage, usually Portugal, but sometimes the EU.
Okay, that's quite comprehensive on the cost side. But you mentioned something earlier. It's not just about paying bills after the fact, is it? There's a proactive side, too.
Yes, and this is a really valuable part that sometimes gets overlooked. Many LPI policies include legal advice services. Think of it as preventive support.
How does that work in practice?
Well, often there's a telephone legal helpline you can call for quick questions. Maybe you need someone to review a document before you sign it, like a rental agreement or an employment contract.
That could save a lot of trouble down the line.
Exactly. You might get help with contract consultation, getting a formal legal opinion letter, or just general advice on how to prevent a dispute from escalating in the first place.
And is this advice service easy to access?
Often, yes. Some offer 204/7 availability, which is great for urgent issues. Multilanguage support is a key feature for expats. They usually give you access to a network of specialized lawyers and aim for pretty quick response times.
That sounds incredibly useful. So if someone's thinking, okay, I need this, how do they actually get it? Is it always a completely separate insurance policy?
Good question. There are a couple of main ways, and this is where, as you said, people might have an aha moment, realizing they might already have some cover. First, you can get standalone legal protection. This is usually the most comprehensive option. It typically covers a wide range of personal legal issues, often has higher coverage limits, and might give you more freedom to choose your own lawyer. These policies often cover the whole family and might have broader geographic scope, maybe EU-wide. In terms of cost, you might be looking at roughly 50 to 150 euros a year for an individual, maybe 100 to 250 for a family, and premium plans could be 200 to 500 euros or more.
Right, so that's the dedicated policy option. What's the alternative?
The alternative is integrated coverage. This is where legal protection is included as an add-on or just a component within other insurance policies.
Like car insurance.
Exactly. Your auto insurance might have an option to add legal protection. This would typically cover things like defending traffic violations, handling claims after an accident, maybe disputes over buying or selling the car. The limit might be lower here, maybe 5 or 10,000 euros.
And home insurance, too.
Yes, home insurance policies often offer it as an add-on. This would usually focus on property-related stuff, disputes with neighbors, problems with construction work, issues with your landlord or tenant if you rent out the property. Limits here might be around 3 to 5,000 euros typically. And then there's business insurance. If you have a business policy, it often includes or offers LPI for things like commercial disputes, employment law issues on the employer side, tax matters, or defending against regulatory actions. Limits here tend to be higher.
Any other types?
Well, there's also more specialized legal insurance for certain professions, like directors and officers insurance, which includes legal defense or specific cover for things like tax audits.
That's a huge insight, because many people probably just assume they need a whole separate policy, but they might already have some level of cover in their existing car or home insurance.
Precisely. It might not be as comprehensive as a standalone policy, but it's definitely worth checking what you already have. It could save you money or help you see where the gaps are.
Definitely a key takeaway. Check your current policies first. Okay, let's make this even more real. Can you share some specific examples? You know, those scenarios where having LPI really makes a difference.
Absolutely. Real cases really drive home the value. Let's take consumer rights. Imagine an expat buys a furniture set, costs 2,000 euros. It arrives damaged, unusable. The seller digs their heels in, refuses a refund.
Nightmare scenario.
Right. But with LPI, the insurance covered 1,500 euros in lawyer fees. The expat took the seller to court and got their 2,000 euros back. Without that insurance backing. Well, you have to ask, would they have just given up? Especially facing the hassle and cost?
It's easy to see how someone might just write it off, especially in a new country.
For sure. Or take employment law. We had a case, Sarah, an expat. She believed she was wrongfully terminated, no proper reason given, no compensation offered.
Okay.
Her LPI policy covered 4,500 euros for a specialist labor lawyer. They fought the case, and she won. The court awarded her 6 months severance pay. That's a huge difference to her financial situation.
Absolutely life-changing in that scenario.
Definitely. And property and housing is another common one. Maria, also an expat, moved out of her rental. The landlord kept her 2,000 euro deposit, claiming damages she insisted she didn't cause.
Ah, the classic deposit dispute.
It happens a lot. Her LPI covered 1,800 euros in legal fees. It went to court, the ruling went in her favor, and she got her full deposit back.
That probably paid for the insurance premium many times over.
Often, yes. And we see it all the time with traffic and driving to appealing unfair fines, help if your license is threatened with suspension or disputes about who is at fault after an accident.
These examples really show it. It's not just about the money, is it? It's about leveling the playing field, especially when you're maybe feeling a bit vulnerable in a new legal system.
That's a great way to put it. It transforms a potentially overwhelming fight into something manageable.
Okay, so we're sold on the value.
Yeah.
Let's talk practicalities again. What actually determines how much this insurance costs? And what are the kind of key terms or bits of small print people really need to watch out for?
Right, the premium depends on a few things. First, the scope of coverage. Is it a comprehensive plan covering almost everything or more limited, like just motoring issues? Then the coverage limits themselves. Higher limits, like that €50,000 per case we mentioned, will naturally cost more than a 5,000 limit.
Makes sense.
Any deductible or excess you agree to pay per claim will also affect the price. The geographic coverage matters too. A policy just for Portugal will be cheaper than one covering the whole EU or even worldwide.
And presumably covering a whole family costs more than just one person.
Yes. Individual versus family plans is another factor.
Can you give us some ballpark figures again, just to illustrate?
Sure. So like a basic add-on to your car insurance might be just 20 to 40 euros a year, but with maybe only a 5,000 euro limit. An add-on to home insurance may be 30 to 60 euros for a similar limit. A standalone basic plan could be around 80 to 120 euros for, say, 15,000 euro coverage. A more comprehensive family plan might be in the 150 to 300 euro range for maybe 30,000 euro cover. And then business plans can go from 300 up to 1,000 euros or more for limits of 50,000 euros plus.
Okay, so quite a range depending on your need. Who are the main companies offering this in Portugal?
You've got specialist legal insurers. ARAG Portugal is a big one. They focus just on this, have a large lawyer network, often good multi-language support. Das Portugal is another international specialist with comprehensive plans. Then many of the major general insurance companies offer legal protection too. Fidelidade has their legal care products, often integrated. Companies like Generali, Allianz, Liberty Seguros, even ACP, the Auto Club, offer versions of it.
Good to know there are options. Now, about those crucial policy terms, what should people really look out for to avoid nasty surprises?
Okay, this is really important. The number one thing to understand is waiting periods. In Portuguese, carências.
Waiting periods. So you can't just buy it today and make a claim tomorrow.
Generally, no, not for issues that were already brewing. There's usually a period after you take out the policy before you can make a claim for certain types of disputes.
What are typical waiting periods?
Well, for general disputes, maybe 3 months. For employment issues, it could be 3 to 6 months. Property matters, often 3 months. Tax disputes might have a 6-month wait. And for more sensitive areas like divorce or family law, it could be 6 or even 12 months.
Wow, okay. That's really crucial to know. You need to plan ahead.
Absolutely. But here's a key exception. There's usually no waiting period for claims arising from accidents. If you have a car crash the day after your policy starts, you should be covered for the legal fallout.
Ah, okay, that's a vital distinction. What else? Exclusions.
Yes, always check the common exclusions. Policies won't cover legal issues that existed before you bought the insurance. They won't cover intentional illegal acts you commit, obviously. Fines and penalties themselves usually aren't covered, just the legal costs of appealing them. Disputes you might have with the insurance company itself are typically excluded. Disputes between family members covered under the same policy might be out.
And divorce. You mentioned limitations there.
Yeah, the actual costs of the divorce itself are often excluded, though some policies might cover related advice or mediation. Business formation costs are usually excluded too. You really need to read that exclusions list.
Anything else in the fine print?
Some policies have coverage thresholds. This means the amount of money in dispute has to be over a certain minimum, maybe 300 or 500 euros, before they'll cover the costs of pursuing the claim. This is to stop claims for very trivial amounts.
But maybe not if you're defending a claim brought against you.
Correct. That minimum often doesn't apply if you're the one being sued or pursued.
Okay, waiting periods and exclusions, definitely two things to scrutinize. So we know what it is, what it covers, the costs, the terms. What happens when you actually, need to use it? What's the claims process like?
Right, the moment of truth. The first, most critical step is prompt notification. If you receive any kind of legal document, a court summons, if police get involved, or if there's any urgent deadline, you need to tell your insurer immediately.
How immediate is immediate?
For really urgent things, often within 48 hours. For less urgent general claims, the policy might say within 7 days or maybe up to 30 days.
Yeah.
Check your policy documents. You absolutely must provide them with all the relevant paperwork and information.
Okay, so contact them straight away. What happens next?
So the basic steps are a legal issue comes up, you contact the insurer, they'll evaluate the case, check it's covered, assess the prospects of success sometimes. Then usually a lawyer is assigned. Or, depending on the policy, you might get to choose your own. Legal proceedings begin, if necessary, and then hopefully the case gets resolved. The key thing is your covered legal costs should be paid by the insurer, whether you ultimately win or lose the case.
What about choosing the lawyer? Do you have a choice?
It depends. Many insurers have a network of preferred lawyers. If you use one of them, it's often smoother direct billing, no upfront costs for you, and the insurer has vetted their quality.
Well, what if you have your own lawyer you trust?
Some policies, especially standalone ones, allow you a free choice of lawyer. However, they might still impose limits or caps on the fees they'll cover if you use someone outside their network. So it's always best to check with the insurer before instructing your own lawyer.
Good advice. Now, we touched on the preventive side earlier. How can people really leverage that aspect? It feels like a powerful, underused benefit.
It really is. Think about using that legal helpline before problems arise. Get that rental contract checked before you sign it. Understand your rights in an employment situation before it becomes a major dispute.
So it's like having a lawyer on retainer almost.
In a limited way, yes. It's about proactive legal wellness. Use the advice line to understand Portuguese laws that affect you, to get guidance on drafting documents, or just to get a quick sense check on a situation to prevent it escalating.
That sounds incredibly smart. And you also mentioned coordinating this with other insurance. How important is that?
Very important, mainly to avoid paying twice for the same thing or finding you have a critical gap. So, check your existing policies thoroughly: car, home, any business or professional liability insurance you have. Even some premium credit cards offer limited legal assistance. Ask yourself, am I already covered for this? Am I paying for overlapping protection? Or, crucially, is there a major risk area in my life that isn't covered? The goal is to avoid duplication, spot the gaps, and then supplement intelligently if needed, perhaps with a standalone policy if your integrated cover isn't enough.
Makes perfect sense.
Right.
Let's focus back specifically on the expat experience, which is relevant for so many of our listeners. Why is LPI particularly important if you're an expat in Portugal?
Well, several reasons jump out. First, and perhaps most obviously, is language support. Navigating a legal issue is stressful enough. Doing it in a foreign language is exponentially harder.
Absolutely.
LPI policies often specifically cater to this, providing access to English-speaking lawyers, covering the cost of document translation, which can be expensive, maybe even interpreter services for hearings. The multi-language helplines and networks of expat specialized attorneys are invaluable.
That alone sounds worth the premium for many.
It often is. Second, there are cross-border issues. Expats often have connections, assets, or dealings back in their home country or elsewhere. Some LPI policies offer international coverage options, perhaps EU-wide protection. This could be relevant for international contracts, employment that spans borders, issues with the property you own elsewhere, even complex situations like international divorce or inheritance.
Okay, so it can bridge legal systems too.
Potentially, yes, depending on the policy scope. And third, there are certain common expat legal issues where LPI frequently proves useful. We see it often with disputes related to residency permits or visas, challenges from the Portuguese tax authorities, finances, problems arising during property purchase, unfortunately quite common, issues with employment contracts not being honored, and, as mentioned, those complex cross-border family matters like divorce or inheritance.
It really does sound like a vital tool for navigating the specific challenges expats might face. It sort of smooths out the bumps in the road of settling into a new country.
Exactly. It provides that bridge over the complexities, that support structure, making Portugal feel a bit more manageable, a bit less intimidating from a legal perspective.
So who would you say benefits the most from seriously considering LPI?
Well, clearly, non-Portuguese speakers stand to gain a lot from the language support. Property owners and renters face numerous potential disputes. Business owners and professionals have specific risks. But honestly, anyone who isn't familiar with the ins and outs of Portuguese law could benefit significantly. It comes down to evaluating your personal situation, your language skills, your assets here, any business activities, your family structure, and just your general tolerance for risk.
Right. Okay, before we wrap this up, are there any common mistakes people make with LPI that our listeners should try hard to avoid?
Yes, there are a few common pitfalls. The biggest one is probably late notification. Missing the deadline to inform your insurer about a legal issue can invalidate your claim entirely.
So act fast.
Definitely. Another mistake is acting without the insurer's approval. Don't just go hire a lawyer and send them the bill later. You need their go-ahead. Otherwise, they might refuse to cover the costs.
Okay, get approval first.
Choosing the wrong lawyer can be an issue too. If you pick someone outside their network without checking, you might find the insurer only covers part of their fees, leaving you with a hefty bill.
We mentioned ignoring waiting periods, trying to claim for something during that initial period will just lead to denial.
Absolutely. And finally, submitting incomplete documentation. If you don't give the insurer all the information they need, it just delays everything and makes the process more stressful.
Good list of things to avoid. So if someone listening is thinking, okay, this sounds important, maybe I should look into this, what are the practical first steps?
First step, as we discussed, assess your current policies, dig out your car insurance, home insurance, any other relevant policies, and see what, if any, legal protection is already included. Then identify the gaps. Based on your life here, property, work, family, what risks aren't covered? What level of financial protection do you feel you need? Next, compare your options. Do you need a comprehensive standalone policy, or would a cheaper add-on to an existing policy be sufficient? Get quotes for both.
And read the small print.
Always read the exclusions carefully, understand the waiting periods, the coverage limits, the deductible. Don't just look at the price. Also, consider bundles. Sometimes adding LPI to home or car insurance is more economical than buying it separately.
Are there any key questions people should be asking providers when comparing policies?
Definitely. Ask, what exactly are the waiting periods for different types of cases? Can I choose my own lawyer? And what are the rules or fee caps if I do? Are there minimum claim value thresholds? Is translation of documents definitely included? Do you have stats on your claim success rate? Crucially, is there a legal advice helpline I can use preventatively?
Excellent questions to have ready. And it's worth just quickly mentioning, isn't it, that LPI fits into a bigger picture of protection.
Yes, absolutely. Think of it alongside your health insurance, maybe pet insurance if you have animals, travel insurance, life insurance. Legal issues can sometimes arise in relation to events covered by those policies too, so having LPI complements your overall safety net.
So wrapping this all up, what this deep dive really shows is the power and the peace of mind that legal protection insurance can offer, especially if you're an expat finding your feet in the Portuguese legal system. It seems to provide that expert backup and financial support that can turn what feels like a potential disaster into something, well, manageable.
I think that's right. And, in a world where we're flooded with information, taking the time to truly understand something as practical as your own legal safety net, that's really empowering. So maybe here's a final thought to leave with you. In a country like Portugal, which often feels so wonderfully simple and relaxed on the surface, think about how just one unexpected legal challenge could potentially disrupt everything. And ask yourself, what's the true cost of not being prepared? It might be more than just money. Perhaps the greatest value of this kind of insurance isn't just the potential savings, but the freedom. It buys you the freedom to really embrace your new life here without that background hum of worry about the legal what ifs.